Just because you go into a space with someone does not mean that you agree with everything that they say.
But let me push back a little bit. Why call him the greatest of all time?
I didn't call him the greatest of all time because of his rhetoric. I called him the greatest of all time because of what he's done in black communities. I don't agree with many of Minister Farrakhan's statements.
Specifically about Jewish people.
As I said, I don't agree with many of Minister Farrakhan's statements.
You condemn them?
I don't agree with these statements. At the end of the day...
You won't condemn it.
No. To be very clear, it's not my language. It's not the way that I speak.
Good for Meghan McCain. That was Women's March co-chair Tamika Mallory defending her support, refusing to condemn a bigot, an anti-Semite, Louis Farrakhan. Shocking hypocrisy that is now generating a ton of controversy prior to the annual event, the Women's March, scheduled for this upcoming weekend. Now, partners are dropping like flies. Nobody wants to be associated with it. Why should they? The DNC, most notably, has ended its sponsorship of the march. The NAACP and the National Organization of Women, they're out. They have lost more than half of the 500 sponsors who supported the march last year, which is good. We're talking progress, folks, because I'll tell you, a man like that, who says the things he says, should never get the time of day from anyone. Joining me right now, Campus Reform contributor Emma Michel and American Islamic Forum for Democracy founder Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, I'm starting with you. Your thoughts on Louis Farrakhan and the fact that people in the Women's March that are leading it have sort of adopted him, brought him in, refuse to condemn him.
Well, to see finally, Trish, people escaping like the DNC and others, they're finally waking up to the fact that the Women's March was associated with hate-filled bigots from the Nation of Islam. The conservatives have been calling this 2 years ago. And when people wonder where are the voices of moderate Muslims, well, when the left really doesn't care about ideas or values, they just care that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They actually use the Nation of Islam as security and the associations, not only with, as you saw with Meghan's interview of Tamika Mallory, but Linda Sarsour had to call for jihad. She's been a Hamas supporter. We've been asking, why are these hate-filled, anti-American, anti-Semitic bigots involved in leading a so-called women's march? They're homophobic. They are, in many ways, against the values of the women's march. And the hypocrisy, as you said, is just legendary. And finally, they're starting to step away from it.
I mean, why would the Women's March even want to have any association with them, Emma?
It's good that the left is finally waking up to what conservatives have been saying about the Women's March from the very beginning, and that is that this group is too radical. They do not represent the views of most American women, whether they're on the left or on the right. And that hypocrisy has been there since the very beginning. Linda Sarsour has had countless anti-Semitic statements. They go way back before this Women's March started. And meanwhile, we have this other leader, the co-president, going on The View and standing by her endorsement of Louis Farrakhan, who is a known anti-Semite.
I know, we've played some of the sound. I mean, it's just disgusting. The guy is absolutely disgusting. And the idea that they would welcome him at all, or that she would be refusing to condemn him when offered the opportunity, is just beyond my comprehension. Zuhdi, back to you in a second, but Emma, tell us briefly, like, what are colleges doing? Because they're very supportive of this whole thing, right? Even despite the association with Farrakhan.
Colleges have been giving students supplies to make posters for this. They've been encouraging students to take part. And really what's unfortunate about this is it plays into this thing that we've been covering at the Leadership Institute's campus reform, and it's groupthink. It's the fact that these students don't understand why they should be questioning the movements that they are a part of. So there are new students looking to these statements from Farrakhan, these statements from Linda Sarsour. I think a lot of students would be reasonable enough to want to step away from this movement if they knew those things were being said, but they're simply not asking those questions. And that's where this real problem comes from, is a lack of teaching students critical thinking skills at the college level.
I hear you. I mean, not teaching them to think, but also maybe they're teaching them, Zuhdi, to not be allowed to think in that. How dare you think that? How dare you think differently? How dare you challenge anything? You were seen as, well, a whole host of things, right? I mean, you couldn't have a Donald Trump for president sign on a college campus. It was considered hate speech, despite the fact that, you know, the Republican Party had chosen him. And by the way, the American people eventually did. I mean, it's kind of crazy out there, sir.
Yeah, you know, Trish, the central core of their hypocrisy is they say they're all about diversity, but their diversity is skin deep. It's identity politics. Ideological diversity is a bigotry of low expectations for them. So they don't care what people believe. As long as they're enemies of the conservatives, they don't care. They'll sit with dictators, they'll sit with monarchs, anybody, in order to push forth their collectivist agenda. And it's all about collectivism and groupthink, and not about reality of ideas, which is really what we need to hold them accountable, which is American values.
Yeah. You know, look, you know, Emma, I think about what college really should be, what every school really should be, and it's about intellectual diversity, right? You know, an appreciation not just for all kinds of different people, but all kinds of different thought. We need intellectual diversity, or how else are we really going to progress if everybody's thinking the same way?
Exactly. We need different ideas on college campuses, and that's what higher education is really supposed to be about, is a chance for people to kind of spar with these different ideologies and these different ideas so that the best one can win and be successful. But that's not what we're seeing on the college campus today. Unfortunately, students are being spoon-fed these liberal talking points like we all need to support social justice from their professors. So that's something that needs to stop.
I support social justice. I support equality. I support all of those things. You know, and that's what's just, Zuhdi, I just have 30 seconds left, but just your final thought on this, because it really does feel as though they're trying to jam something down everybody's throat.
Oh, and I think their inability to condemn it shows their weakness, their lack of courage, and their groupthink. It shouldn't be hard to condemn a bigot and say it's anti-Semitism and speak out against Hamas and radical Islam. I mean, this is not hard to do, but yet they can't.
Agreed. Emma, Zuhdi, thank you so much. We got more. Trish, we can